how significant is Ram Temple in this election for BJP?
Ram Temple is important, but probably not sufficient to win people's vote this time around. When you have a BJP, which is a strong Hindutva party, so Congress will need to redefine what is the meaning of Hindu, and only then it can come back in this region.
Hello and welcome to the Indian Express. I'm Charulata Biswas, and today I'm being joined by Suhas Parshikar, who was a professor at the University of Pune, and he's now retired. And he's written a piece on the emergence of Hindutva fatigue in the Hindi belt of India. Sir, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. Let me
My
first
pleasure. Yes.
Let me first begin by asking you my first question. You spoke about the Hindutva fatigue, right? Due to economic issues and exaggerated promises. Can you elaborate a little bit on this?
When we talk of fatigue, in a sense, it refers to a more than necessary acquaintance, a frequent acquaintance, so that then you sort of become bored with that particular phenomenon, that particular thing. And in the case of Hindutva, I thought that in many parts of India, where there has been a long association of the people of that part with Hindutva, there is a possibility that Hindutva alone may not be sufficient to capture their imagination. They might just be still pro-Hindutva, but not adequately mobilized on the basis of Hindutva. That's what I meant when I used the term Hindutva fatigue. Uh, in the north, that is what I mainly spoke about. In the north, there has been a long tradition of the sections of Hindu society quickly slipping into the politics of Hindutva. And therefore, I argue that it is not just with 2014 that people in the north have become pro-Hindutva. They have been pro-Hindutva earlier also. And after this long time of their acquaintance with Hindutva, their association with Hindutva, many other factors would start intervening quite naturally, and they would start expecting something more from politics besides Hindutva.
So, your report also highlights the BJP's significant electoral success in the Hindi belt, particularly in states like UP, where it has a substantial presence. However, you also mentioned the possibility of a diminishing returns scenario where the BJP support base reaches a plateau. Could you elaborate on the potential strategies or shifts in approach the BJP might adopt to sustain or enhance its electoral strength in the Hindi belt?
Traditionally, as I said, the first thing that attracted people to Hindutva after the 1990s was
Yes, sir.
the strong and militant agitation on the question of Ram Janmabhoomi. That, in a sense, transformed the sensibilities of many Hindus of that region. Afterwards, it was Bajpayee's leadership that sort of kept them together and kept them behind Hindutva. Similarly, in 2014, the rise of Narendra Modi as the leader and mascot of Hindutva simply attracted not only North, elsewhere also, but particularly what we are talking about, the Hindi belt. The people were swept off their feet because of this rise of new leadership. In the last 10 years, however, if you keep repeating the same rhetoric, then people start asking for something more. And that something more, for example, in UP was the promise of law and order, and nationally, the promise of development. These promises sort of combined with Hindutva and made people remain loyal to the party of Hindutva.
So, how significant is Ram Temple in this election for BJP?
It is yes and no both, because the study that we did in March end, just before the election process began, shows that when people were asked what is the most important contribution of the Modi government that you like, Ram Temple was mentioned. So quite obviously, people look upon the BJP as a party that has brought about Ram Temple. So yes, it is an important electoral plank. However, at the same time, now people say that, okay, that is done. Let us move ahead and ask the question, besides these symbolic satisfactions, what do we get from the BJP? And therefore, when people were asked what are the main issues when you are going to elections, the two most important issues that came up were employment or unemployment and inflation or price rise. In other words, the questions of livelihood and economy, they dominate. So, as I said earlier, people are now asking that do we get anything besides the symbolic satisfaction on account of Ram Temple? And therefore, I said Ram Temple is important, but probably not sufficient to win people's vote this time around.
In your analysis, you also raised the question of whether the voters in the Hindi belt will continue to prioritize the emotive appeal of Hindutva or begin to exercise agency by assessing factors like performance,
Yes,
right? Like you said.
yes.
Um, you know, how do you see, like, should there be a shift in BJP's approach?
Yes, one would have expected that during this campaign, the BJP would emphasize on various schemes that it has
Hmm.
adopted, the various benefits that it has, or it claims that it has made sure that it will reach the voters. In other words, performance. If you are in power for 10 years, obviously one would look forward to listening from you about your performance rather than your promises, about your performance rather than your criticism of the other parties. And that's why in this Hindi belt, and when I say Hindi belt, I say this because there is some kind of commonality of approach of the voters of this region, though they are different
What's
states.
yeah, what's the
Uh,
commonality of approach, sir?
the commonality, in a sense, is that they look upon the socio-political issues in the same way. There is a cultural commonality that runs through in the Hindi belt. And I have given the examples. Let's see, for example, 1967, the first time when the Congress was sort of given a notice that people are no more with it. That happens throughout the North belt, the Hindi belt. It doesn't happen only in one state. Things don't happen only in UP or only in Rajasthan. They happen across the Hindi belt. The same has happened in 1977 when the Congress was completely thrown out of power in all these states, and so on and so forth. So the point is that it is this Hindi belt that sends something like 240 odd MPs to the Lok Sabha. And therefore, if there is a Hindutva fatigue in this region, then there is a possibility that some new political churning will start happening.
Okay. And when you talk about political churning, you know, how important is Congress in the belt, you know, because it's in the opposition, you know, and now BJP has a stronghold. How do you see Congress making a comeback in the region?
There is only a partial possibility of Congress comeback. Congress is the main opposition party or the main contender in states like Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. But if you look at larger states like UP and Bihar, the Congress still is not an important force there. There, the Congress is
Hmm.
only a secondary partner, a weak partner of the India bloc, and the main leaders in that those two states are respectively Samajwadi Party and the Rashtriya Janata Dal. So,
Exactly.
in terms of Congress's comeback, it is very important for the Congress to actually win back Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and also Gujarat, though it is not part of the Hindi belt. It is also important for the Congress to find its feet in UP and Bihar, which it might as well do with the help of Samajwadi Party and with the help of Rashtriya Janata Dal in Bihar. But that's going to be a very long journey for the Congress. Let's not think of comeback in this election as such.
So my last question to you, have you seen any instance where you can most definitely say that Congress has played the Hindutva card this election season? And if not, then will it be a disadvantage to the party?
Hindutva card, you are saying? No, I don't think the Congress can be accused of using the Hindutva card. There is always this confusion about being sort of uh, having an image of being a party of the Hindus and a politically Hindutva party. A political Hindutva is more about the aggressive unification of a community in relation to something else. So you need something else there in order to assert your Hindutva. And the Congress party generally avoids doing that, though, as I point out in my article, in the North, the Congress always had elements which were very eager to turn to Hindutva. So Congress has always been sitting on this dilemma historically since Nehru's time, when there would be Hindu leaders wanting to take a more pro-Hindutva line and leaders like Nehru trying to rein them in, control them. And gradually, it is these regions where Hindutva finds its mainstay in the 1990s. So no, Congress doesn't have that option. I don't think the Congress would have that option, particularly when you have a BJP, which is a strong Hindutva party. The Congress will need to redefine what is the meaning of Hindu, and only then it can come back in this region.
Hmm. Sorry, I said it would be my last question, but I'm tempted to ask you one more question.
Yeah.
Congress has aggressively been talking about unemployment and development. Even in their manifesto, they have spoken about these things at length.
Yes.
Do you think people see that and recognize it and acknowledge that Congress is really trying to, embrace development, sort of getting deviated?
There are two things happening here. One is that the Congress had a very excellent, let us say, idea, the idea of Nyay. They put it in their manifesto, all right. But then to connect that idea to the people was a gigantic task. And the
Right.
Congress as a party has been a very weak party of late, and particularly its relation, let's say, connect between its top leadership and its cadres on the ground has also been very weak. As a result of that, the Congress might not have done enough to popularize its ideas about the economy and its ideas about justice and fair economy. But on the other hand, what happens is that the moment the Congress starts even symbolically talking about these issues, suddenly the worries that I mentioned earlier that people have, that poverty is a worry, inflation is a worry, unemployment is a worry, those worries get connected with the rhetoric of the Congress. So it is, in a sense, a funny situation that the Congress might not have done enough, and yet people might have thought that there is a connect between what the Congress is saying and what they think politics should be. What are their worries? So that might have happened. That might not be sufficient for the Congress to win the elections, but something, as I said earlier also, a new churning can be possible. Or to put it otherwise, North, the Hindi belt, has been a sort of closed fortress of the BJP. And the BJP didn't have anything to worry about in this region. Suddenly, the door has been opened slightly for other ideas to come in, for other types of politics to compete with Hindutva. That is all.
Absolutely, there are other ideas, and let's see what the outcome will be. Thank you so much, Suhas sir. I greatly appreciate your time and expertise in this discussion. And thank you so much, viewers. If you like this video, then like and subscribe to our channel, Indian Express. And don't forget to click on the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching.